Thank you so much, Tammy and Carla and Adele and Abina and Julie and Melissa and Nicole. Thank you for joining us today during this Rise Gatherings workshop. I'm so happy to be here. And Tammy, do I have permission to go ahead and start, or do you want to say any other announcements?
Oh yeah, you need no permission.
Okay. Okay, so how this workshop is going to go is, first, I would like to take some time to just get in our bodies, because there'll be some journaling that we'll be doing during the presentation. And one thing that I love to help women to understand is this sacred connection we have to our bodies. When we connect it to our bodies and we're deeply grounded, we can hear our intuitive voice and our inner voice more, if that makes sense to you. And if you've never heard of intuitive voice, that's just the part of you, I like to call the part of you that is God, but the part of you that is the spirit part of you. So if that's your first time hearing it, that's what I mean by your intuitive voice. So we're going to do actually a little breathing, connecting to our womb space. Can you give me just a little thumbs up if with your fingers or with an emoji if you ever heard of womb space? Is this a new term for you? I just want to make sure. You've heard of it? You've heard of it? Okay. So most of you are familiar. Okay. So new to it, Adele. Okay. So when I say your womb space, your physical womb is about 2 inches below your navel, and we're just going to put our hands on there. So a lot of the work that I do, I teach around the physical womb, how to help women heal the physical womb, but I also teach about the energetic womb, which is connected. So when I say your womb space, I'm talking about the physical womb, and I'm also talking about connecting to your energetic womb, which I'm not going into in this workshop, but that's just a brief overview, if that makes sense. So if we can put 2 hands on our physical womb space, which is again 2 inches below your navel, we're going to do a little belly breathing. And then I just wanted to do a little belly dance snake arms, just to get us in the moment and in the movement. So we can just close our eyes. We're going to do some deep belly breaths. Hands are 2 inches below your navel. And when you inhale, I want you to pull the breath in, and your belly should be expanding. And when you exhale, you're going to push the breath out of your mouth, and your belly should be going inwards or contracting. Okay, so we're going to do 3 deep belly breaths. So let's breathe in. And hold the breath. Just connecting deeply to our centers. And slowly exhale. Just being present in this moment, connecting to all that is. And again, a nice big deep inhale. Bringing that breath all the way deep, deep down into your belly, into your womb, feeling its expansion, and holding your breath. And now a gentle exhale. And one last time, great big inhale. And hold. Hold the breath a little bit longer if you can. Just connecting to this sacred space. And slowly exhale. And we can slowly open our eyes. We're going to do a little bit of shoulder movement, just continuing this nice grounded flow. Let's just bring our shoulders back, getting nice and in our bodies, being connected. Good, shoulders back. And one more time, and let's bring the shoulders forward. And last one. So I'm going to play a little belly dance music, and we're going to do something known as a snake arm, a forward snake arm, right? So it's this nice, really flowy kind of movement, and it just looks like this. That's all I want us to do, because I couldn't do a full belly dance class online, but maybe one day. So What I'm going to do is first, I'm just going to walk you through the movement, and then we'll put it on and do it to the music so we can just be nice and grounded. So I want everybody to start with your left hand, right? And I'm going to move back so you can see me. So here's my left hand. And I want you to have your palm down, okay? And then as you bring your palm up, I want you to flip it up and raise your hand all the way up. So you can see my hand is up. And then I bring it back down, keep your palm out. And then when I go down, I flip. So up, open up the palm as you go up. Bring it back down. And flip it again. So it's up. You know what? I'm teaching you guys the wrong way. I'm just realizing that. Sorry. So you have it down. Keep it down as you go all the way up. And when you go up, you flip it. And now the palm is out. There you go. So down, keep it down as you go all the way up and flip out. Last time, keep the palm down. And then when you go to the top, you flip it and palm out. Cool. Let's switch and do the other side the same way. Palm down and rise all the way up, keeping the palm down. And then when you get to the very top, just flip it open and bring it down. And 2 more times, palm down. There you go. Flip it open, bring it down. And last time, raise up and bring it down. Cool. Now we're going to have it in front of us. And how it looks is I'm just going up, I flip, down, I flip. Up, I flip, down, I flip. Don't think about it. Just be in your body. Just have fun. This was a real workshop. We could have time to get into the technicalities, but just flip. So I'm going to put on some music and we're just going to sway. This is called a forward snake arm and belly dance. Okay. All right. So let me put on some music. We'll do that really quickly. And we should be really in our bodies by that time. Okay. Here we go. Give me a little workout. Okay. Okay. I want you to add a sway. Now sway, 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 sway. Good. Good. And hands in front of your face. Okay. Are we nice and warmed up and grounded in our bodies now? Wonderful. Thank you, Tammy. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We're nice and grounded. Let's again out. So again, I'm so happy to have you all here, and I'm going to share my screen momentarily. I want to share a little bit about myself. How did I even get into this work? And we'll begin the workshop. There will be some moments where you'll have to journal, where we'll have to share out as much as you want to. Don't feel any pressure, but it does feel good as women when we share in community, because when we share our stories, we don't realize that our stories are actually helping someone else. And when we share that light with someone else, we actually expand our light. So just something for you to keep in mind, but there is never any pressure. So let me share my screen. I'll be having my screen go off and on as far as the presentation, just to take moments to connect with you. So just, we can just keep that in mind. Now, let me see, how do I do this? Give me one moment, share screen. And I'm going to need you all to kind of help me to let me know. Can you see my screen? Okay, so let me put it on present. All right, here we go. Okay, so magnetize your joy. Sorry, it's supposed to be 5 secrets to releasing your old story, reclaiming your best life. But for you all, it's magnetize, reclaim your bliss, right? So same thing, joy, bliss, same thing. So let's move forward and let's talk about, during this workshop, I promise to give you as much as I can to help you get in tune with your life. If you've been suffering from health problems, there'll be some information shed on that too. The information that I'm sharing to you is not just theory. It's from my own personal experience as a woman and the cycles and phases I had to go through. It's also from my experience in studying women's holistic health and studying womb health, and also from my clients' stories, how I've seen the transformations they have gone through once they have learned to really tap into their inner wisdom and reclaim the life that they want. And at the end, if those of you want to know how to continue working with me or learn about my work, I will share how you can reach me if you need to. Okay, so let's move forward. And at the end, I am giving out a raffle. I meant to say we have some goodies. I'm going to be doing one free 45-minute guided womb activation session. And this is for Tammy is going to put everyone's name in a raffle. And at the end, she will pull out the winner. So let's begin. So just a little bit about me. Again, welcome, gorgeous woman. I'm so glad to have you here. I want to say in my early 20s and even well into my early 30s, I was just a hormonal mess, right? I had ovarian cysts, I had skin problems, I had menstrual irregularities. I was severely burnt out and suffering from what I now know as adrenal fatigue. At the time, I would not have called it that. I didn't have the knowledge. But it's really when you are just really burnt out from life. I had a master's degree. I was in my teaching career, but I was just really tired a lot. I had a lot of mood swings, especially when that time of the month came. I had a lot of PMS. I don't know if some of you experienced that, but like right before my period came, it felt like my whole world was crashing, right? I had a lot of depression, anger, all these things would surface and I wouldn't be understanding why, like what's going on here. And to top it off, all of that, I had relationships that had hurt me, broken relationships that hurt my self-esteem, my self-worth. And these wounds that I was carrying was always prodding me. I was always seeking out of approval and validation. Didn't really have that connection to my inner voice at that time. My boundaries weren't strong and I was a people pleaser, right? I was always saying yes when I wanted to say no. So that's a little bit about my story in like 30 seconds. That's what prompted me to get on this path. And I knew at that time that I really had to change my life or that I would risk staying stuck, right? The knowledge that I had received from my family and from when I was in religion at that time wasn't serving me anymore. And I knew that I needed to change myself and I needed to change my life and my health. And so what I did is that I actually studied with some mentors, some indigenous healers, and I learned and learned about the power of food, the energy that we have in our food we take in our body. I learned about plant medicine or herbs. I learned how to align with the power of what I really felt in my body, my own intuition. And I learned about the power of living a feminine cyclical life. And that's also known as being in alignment with the menstrual cycle. I just call it feminine cyclical awareness. And over these years of studying and learning and constantly expanding, I learned to heal myself and I continued my studies. I became a holistic health practitioner with a background in Ayurveda, plant medicine. I studied women's healing for plants. I've studied Reiki, womb Reiki, and a regular traditional Reiki. And I also have initiations in goddess temple work as a womb priestess. And so that's a little bit how I got on this journey. And I have opened up my company, Divine Feminine Wellness, that serves women who are on this same journey to healing and reconnecting to their body and transforming their health. So that's pretty much my little story in a nutshell. I took my power back and I invested in myself. And so today, in today's workshop, we're going to be starting off with 5 secrets. And one of the number one secrets that I want to talk about, I'm sure this is not something you were expecting to hear as far as how does your liver, what does that have to do with reclaiming your bliss in your life? Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of background information in that. In Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, the liver is not only known for helping you with your digestion and filtering out toxins in your body, but it's also responsible for the organic flow of your emotions, right? It's also how we filter out our emotions. So the organs in our body not only have physical, jobs. Somebody has a question. Uh-oh. Oh, okay, took your power back. Sorry. I know, Tammy, you said you'll do the questions. I was just reading. I just saw it on the screen. I'm so used to doing the workshops by myself that I'm used to doing both. So, and again, like I said, in Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, we understand that the organs are not just physical. Not only do they have physical functions, but they also are connected to our emotions and our spirits as well. And so the liver is responsible for the organic flow of our life force, our energy, and our body, and also our emotional health. So when we're having emotions that are like heavy and have been holding us down and we can't seem to move forward in life, one of the things that I always help women to understand is your liver might be a little bit sluggish just from being backed up, whether it's that from the way you're eating, right? Or it also may be from you not allowing yourself to feel those emotions, because sometimes we aren't taught to feel, we're taught to just push ourselves and move forward, and we never really stop to feel. And feeling is a part of how we help our liver release those stuck and stagnant toxic emotions in our body. And so what happens is when we get those emotions in our body that are stuck and stagnant, and if we're not eating healthy, right? Say if we have both, what happens is we can have a lot of hormonal imbalances. It may show up for you in the physical body as hormonal imbalances, like it did myself. You could have skin problems. You could have a lot of menstrual cycle problems. You may be constantly tired. You may have a lot of digestive issues, and you may have a lot of problems with circulation. Now, again, for some of you, this knowledge is completely new. You've probably never thought of it that way, but in my years of study and also working with clients, a lot of times when we just activate their liver and help their liver to be more active through releasing emotions and through supporting it through herbs, they get a lot of relief from what they may have been experiencing. When we are continually stuck in those stagnant emotions of life, we create a pattern, right? Our patterns are the habits, and we start to hold this pattern in ourselves of unfulfilled desires. We start to not really express the life that we really came here to live. And so we may start to feel a lot of inner unfulfillment instead of inner fulfillment. We'll have a pattern of not being fulfilled. And this will become our story. We'll get so used to it. Sometimes I know that was my story. I got so used to being where I was, had a really hard time getting out and getting unstuck. So I want you to understand that one of the first things you want to do as far as reclaiming your bliss in your life is really thinking about your emotions that you're holding and also supporting that wonderful liver that's in your body. I always share that when I was studying Ayurveda, they had us meditate with all of our major organs, and the liver was one of them. And it was because it has such a heavy duty in our lives during our lifetime to help us with our feelings. And so we want to make sure that when we are healing ourselves, learning to take those decisive actions and listening to ourselves and moving forward by supporting our liver. So I want to give you all a moment. We're going to do a little bit of journaling. Do we have any questions first, or Tammy, should I wait to the end for that?
Oh, no, take the questions as you see them, or at
Okay.
people want to
If there are
ask.
any questions, feel free to post them in the chat about anything I said about the liver. um, and I wanted to do just a little moment, a journal reflection, just to help you kind of tune into yourself and see where you are. And so the first question I want you to think about, and well, I know this is, we on a time limit, so we can't go too far, but you can feel free to continue these as the workshop ends. What are some emotions you feel that you may be holding on to, or that you may have been holding on to? So take a moment to just journal about that. What are some emotions? And I'm not going to rush you, but I'll probably give you maybe another 30 seconds because we're only on tip 1. We got like a little over 30 minutes left. But I would encourage you, if you feel guided, to share out, you know, even if it's just one little thing. Yeah, grief. Mm-hmm. So if you want to share out, you can comment in the chat, or you can take yourself off mute. I would invite you to use your voice. Voice activation is also part of our healing. So I saw, Tammy, you put in the chat grief, and I understand grief can be a hard thing for us to move through. But it is a part of the journey. And I always share that our darkest moments, or those valley moments, are actually calling us into expansion. And it doesn't feel that way when we're in it. But my experiences have taught me, and working with women in circles for a while, those darker moments, there are new truths that need to develop in us. And we are called into those moments, literally, so that we can open up and expand. I know when I lost my grandmother during COVID, because she was like my mother, I had never lost anyone so close in death before. And I felt like a ton of bricks was on my heart, like every day. But it called me into expansion, because her death and her transition taught me that now is the time to live. There's no waiting, because she died with her story inside of her, right? So if we think of those moments of grief, although they hurt, I'm not going to say they don't, that they're calling us into a better version of ourselves. They're calling us into expansion. I saw some people here put resentment, and I totally understand resentment, sadness. Is there anyone who wants to unmute their mic and just share a little? Do not feel pressured to, about how does that feel in your body, the resentment or sadness? Go ahead, Julie.
For me, because I put guilt, grief, guilt, and resentment. And I think all of them are very much tied in together. I lost an ex-boyfriend suddenly, not too long ago. And there's a guilt aspect that's been projected onto me that I've held on to. And then I resent my partner for, I feel like, those emotions not being valid.
Mhm. Mhm. I
So
understand.
it's just like all of it in between, like intertwined.
And it's okay. At least you've given space for yourself to acknowledge it, right? Because many times we don't even give ourselves space to just even acknowledge or call the emotion what it is. Because sometimes we think it's bad to have dark emotions, or something's wrong with me because I have these emotions. It's nothing wrong with you. These are soul expansion. I call them soul expansion lessons. You are meant to expand from the experience. So although I can't give you all the information now in the workshop, I'm just thanking you and all of you for being able to name the emotion and realize that that's powerful in itself. Just giving it a voice to hear, to be expressed through you. Is there anybody else before we move on? The mic is yours. Okay. Thank you so much, Julie, for sharing that expression. And my love is going to you. So let's now move on. I'm going to share the screen again to number 2, point number 2. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay, cool. So tip number 2 I want to share is change your story, right? The stories that we tell ourselves become the program by which our life is run. And I'm going to share it. I've had so many experiences of this, and this is kind of a hard pill for us to swallow sometimes, because it's important for us to start by telling our story, because when we start telling the story that we're living in, it gives us the power to now change it. It gives us the power to now think about, how do we want that story to be different? Because when you start to change your story, that's when you start to activate your power to change your life. And so we're not going too deep into this. within us, we have three minds. I'd like to call it some of you are probably familiar with this, but we call it the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the superconscious mind. And so our subconscious mind is all of those feelings that we're holding, all of those patterns, all of those stories we've been holding from our childhood, right? All the way up until now. They're those deep beliefs we have that we don't realize that are creating our life. Sometimes if you are into understanding that you are the creator of your experience, then you may be familiar with these terms. For some of you, it may be new. So just take it with a grain of salt, and whatever sticks, sticks, and what doesn't. But these beliefs, we act out every single day. It's how we make all the choices in our life based on all of these beliefs we've been holding for years. And what happens is we literally attract experiences to us. Not all the time. I'm not saying everything, but a lot of the times. Sometimes we attract experiences based on our patterns. And so what happens is that we start repeating a story to ourselves. And what happens is our cells hear us, our organs hear us, our endocrine system hears us, and our life hears us. And we just keep recreating these same experiences, not knowing why this is happening. And in order for us to break this, the easiest way, and it seems too easy, but I'm going to share, like I said, an experience, is to literally just start telling a different story. How do you imagine it to be? You may be in the muck, in the mire of something right now, but it doesn't mean we can't see a different story for ourselves. And so one example I have of this is a little example. I remember when I first started with belly dance, and I was guided by a voice to just start it. And then a couple of years later, I wanted to teach it. And I kept telling myself, oh my God, it's going to be so hard to find a job. I had just moved into this new community and I couldn't find any belly dance jobs nowhere as a teacher. And I kept saying this story to myself. And at the time I was studying Ayurveda, and one of my classmates had been an older woman who was already a spiritual healer and teacher. And I kept telling her, I want to teach belly dance, but it's so hard to find a job. I can't. And she listened to me for 2 seconds. And she said, change your words. I want you to change your words. I want you to stop telling yourself that it's hard to find a job. She said, change your story. I want you to say, I'm so happy and so grateful that I have the most amazing, beautiful belly dance job. It feels so great to teach. My class is always full. Now, mind you, I had been looking for a job for over a month at this time. And she said, just change your words. Trust me. So I started changing my words. I kid you not. Within 7 days, I had a new job. Literally, it opened up somebody, a friend of mine's, a Facebook friend of mine. This wasn't even someone I was close with. She just reached out to me. She said, hey, I know this place. They're looking for an instructor for one class. It was a trial class. Do you want to go and do it? Because I can't do it. And then I went there, and then the lady wound up hiring me to be a permanent teacher. So it was literally just that I changed my story, that energy I sent out from my body, right? Because that energy was coming through my body, and I was attracting that experience of not having, I don't have. And then I changed it to I do have, and that energy started to go out from my body. And all of a sudden it just popped in like that. 7 days. I had been looking for over a month. So that's an example of what I mean when I say change your story. So I want you to think about, what story have you been telling yourself about your life? 2 questions. And what do you really want to experience instead? So let me do both questions. What story have you been telling yourself? And I'll give you a minute to just start to jot it down. And again, feel free to continue this after the workshop, because you can probably go deep with these questions. And what do you want to experience instead? What does that look like for you instead of the story you have? And after you felt the story you have, I really want you to get excited about the story you want. Feel that emotion in your body. I've been telling myself that I'm unhappy, you're unfulfilled, and that you're saying that someone else caused it. Thank you for sharing, caller. And that's quite normal. the beginning stage starts with you looking outside of yourself, but you've named it, and that's the most important thing. But now you've been able to name the story. I want you to think about, if you made no one else responsible for your happiness, if you made no one else responsible for your feelings, and you could just live that juicy life that you wanted, what would that look like for you? What would that story look like? And I'll give everyone another 30 seconds. And of course, feel free to share it. Continue this again, like I said, when the workshop ends. You probably can sit with this for a whole weekend. I know whenever I need to do some inner transformation, I could sit with this for 2-3 weeks at a time. So keep this with you. Go ahead, dear. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Nicole.
Nicole.
I just did this about like the Virgo full moon that happened.
Mhm.
And I went to a workshop and that question was asked. So I'm glad that you're bringing it up again, because it like reminds me to keep staying on that momentum. At a young age, my father sort of projected body image on me, and it came from a loving place, but he didn't know how to properly communicate that. So as a young girl, here I am crying about like my curves and like being curvaceous. And I carried that for a long, long time. And then I had a husband who showed up, a boyfriend who's like, come here, and just loved all of it. But I kept carrying something that my dad projected onto me for so long, because it was like, if my own dad doesn't love me, how is another man going to love me? And with this full moon, it was like, let's let go. And so I had shared, I'm letting go a version of like someone had told me that this is what I have to look like in order to be happy. So much connected to Carla, where it's like, you're responsible for your own happiness and you have to be strong enough to define what that is for you. And so it's just a great reminder that like, I want to live fully authentic as a woman with curves, and I don't need anyone else to define that for me. So writing it down and lighting it on fire for the full moon was very like, woohoo. So I wanted to share that because it's such an important question. I appreciate the space for you to ask that and like hold on to that. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I want you to get up every morning and say, I am curvy, I am sexy, I am gorgeous. Charge yourself every day.
My mom bought this tattoo for me when I was young, and it said, be brave, be bright, be bold.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it. And I was like, that's right. That's my way of reminding myself every day. So thank you.
You're welcome. We have time for one more. Is there anybody else that wants to share out a new story? I know you wrote down the story you have. Is there anyone who wants to share their new story? What does that look like? Thank you, Nicole. Okay.
I think I want to say something.
Sure, go ahead.
For the story that I've been telling about my life is that like everything that I do, like I fail and it doesn't ever become anything. And that's just been going on. And I think for the story I want to tell myself is that I'm multifaceted and I'm just here to live my life and do what I love to do. And that's what matters, my passion and the heart that I put on. And I'm free. I want to be carefree and I just want to travel and just have a good time. That's it.
And I want you to write down everything you said. I'm free. I'm multifaceted. I am traveling this wonderful planet with no money or money, because you don't always need money to travel. I am successful in all that I do. I'm an amazing human being. I am divine, right? I am here to share all of my talent and gifts. Write down all those affirmations. That's your new story. And start saying that to yourself every day. And you'll be surprised what will happen for you over the next few weeks if you just call it forth, because you are powerful. You have the power to do that. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So if we don't have anyone else, I'm going to move on to tip number 3, just for the sake of time. You got to make these workshops 2 hours, Tammy.
They are at the weekend getaway.
Okay. So let's go on to tip number 3. Okay. And discover the power of visualization. And I couldn't leave out creating a new story without visualization, because it requires us to start using our imaginations, right? As children, we have imaginations, and no one really teaches us why we have an imagination. It's just, we just know we have thoughts, right? We don't recognize, or we haven't been taught until a spiritual teacher comes and teaches you this. Your imagination is one way in which you create. You create through your words, what you speak, and you create also through the pictures you have in your mind. So visualization is, I love to do visualization, and it should be free flow. When you're sitting around daydreaming, that's creating. And I can share another story with you about this in a moment that just came in my mind to share, so I'll just share it. But when we don't have a clear vision for our lives and what we really want, we don't have self-expression. We're here to express ourselves on this planet. We have gifts and talents that we've all been endowed with. And that's what brings out a fulfilled life. That's what helps us create a blissful life, when we get to express this. In fact, when we don't express ourselves, this is when we go into depression. This is when we go into feeling stuck. We can become bored. Because we're not letting that creative energy move through us. And again, it can be many reasons why this is happening. Stories people are telling us, if we're in a toxic situation, all of these things will stifle that expression. But we can start to open it up little by little. And one of the ways is not only through our words, but through pictures, just seeing a picture in your mind, because our soul and spirit constantly wants to express new life. We're creative. We always want to create, especially as women. We're creators. I call them creatrixes. We're creatrixes. And so visualization allows you to see the life you want now, and it starts to feel real for you. And I use this all the time to create, honestly, everything I want. Whenever I put my words and visualization to my mind, I always attract what I want. I can stand by this truth from experience. And so make it a habit to just see the life you want every day, right? I know some things, if you're familiar with a vision board, you can just put a picture of the thing you want and put it somewhere where you'll see it every day. Or you can make time before you go to bed to just see it in your mind. I like to do both. I have a vision board in my house. And then sometimes, like if I really want to create something for myself and get out of a rut, I'll set my timer for certain times of the day to like see this new picture. And I've found it to be really powerful. And so, again, a quick story I'll share with this is that when I'll always go back to belly dancing, because it's one of my loves. I remember when I had first started belly dancing, there was a lot of racist things going on at the time, especially for belly dancers of color. I'll just say that, in the belly dance community, and still a lot of belly dancers with brown skin can't encounter it. And I remember my first belly dance job was at this gorgeous restaurant. I live in New York. So at the time I was living in New York City, I'll just stop to share before, and I'll share this in a moment. But my first job was at this, wait, I can't see you all. Here we go, wait. I was at this beautiful restaurant. It's called Casa La Femme, this Egyptian restaurant. And I was so excited, and I was so happy to have this as my first job when I was in my 20s, I think, or late 20s. And I remember the owner coming to me one day, and at the time I had, right now my hair has dreadlocks. You probably can't tell, but I have dreadlocked hair. But before I locked my hair, I had big Diana Ross afro. So I had this big afro. And I remember the owner who came to me, and she was an Italian woman, not to be against anybody who's Italian. I love Italian people, but she comes to me and she says, well, they don't look like that. You need to cover your hair. The women in the Middle East don't look like that. So you need to cover your hair, just like that. Right? You need to do something with it, just like that. And it was really hurtful, and a lot of times we say things from habit. I'm sure that's a habit or belief she had. She probably had never really been to the Middle East to know they look like both. They have dark, they have light, they have all colors over there, really. But at the time it was hurtful. And I eventually had to leave that place because it just was out of alignment. And I was really hurt. And so I remember, I started visualizing being in a new place. I started to use the power of imagination. I would see myself dancing and I would see myself in my red veil and having fun. And it maybe took about a good 6 months. It didn't happen right away. And someone again reached out to me and said, there's this new restaurant opening in Brooklyn, and, they want to have, a feature of belly dancer every month. And here's one of my students actually coming in, and they want to feature a belly dancer every month. So I said, all right, sure, I'll come. So I went one weekend just to view one of the belly dancers they had before, and I just wanted to see her. And so the next month it was my turn, and they hired me on the spot. They were like, oh no, we need you here every weekend. So they hired me on the spot every weekend. And not only one time I tried to pull my hair back to try to cover it, because I did that when I was at that restaurant where I experienced racism. They got so mad at me. They said, don't you ever cover your hair. They were like, that's not what we want. So it took me having to let the old story go, sit in that hurt, but then visualize a new story. And then something even better came, something where it was like, I got to be completely myself. I did not have to cover my hair. So that's the power of visualization. I just wanted to share that story with you, how powerful it is. And now that you have your journal, I want you to use your imagination. If you can, you may see colors, you may see real images. I want you to, what do you see? What is that? Even if it's just one thing or many things, what do you see? So like right now, one of my visions, and Tammy doesn't know she was a part of it, one of my visions was to be teaching at women's retreats. I put this on my vision board maybe last year. So, and that vision is now have come into manifestation. It took a little time, but it has come. And that was on my vision board. So I'm sharing with you, this stuff works. So what do you see? The colors, maybe you smell, maybe you hear sounds, or maybe you just feel it. Maybe you don't see it quite yet. You just feel it in your body. Water, blues, greens, beautiful. Healing, emotional. And we'll take another 30 seconds. And if there's anyone who wants to share out, I know Julie shared colors. Smell of rain, beautiful. I'm just feeling all of this cleansing. Maybe we need to go to a spa. I'm going to have you go to a spa. That's your homework. Go sit in a bathhouse and bring on the healing waters. Because water is a powerful cleanser. That's one of the strongest elements for cleansing. The ocean, you dancing in the sun, beautiful, Abina. Swimming, lots of water energy here. It doesn't surprise me. I love water, water energy. You too? Yep, go
Yeah,
ahead.
hula hooping. I used to teach people how to hula hoop, kids and adults. So getting back into that, and I'd have belly dance before. So you mentioning it, I'm like, maybe I should get back into that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Hula hooping, wonderful. I've seen some amazing hula hoopers.
Yeah, I have a bunch.
Anybody else? You have a house on the hills. Yes, Abina, I like it. Go ahead. Hi, Laura. Good to see you. A house on the hills. Is it in nature? Is it on a cliff? Is it in a forest? You have fun with this. I have fun with it. I create all kinds of things in my mind. Is there anybody else who want to share out? What do they see? And around Flower Meadow, beautiful, wonderful. Okay, I'll give 10 more seconds and then I want to move on because we have about 12 minutes. I want to get to the last two. All right. All right, so let me share the screen and let's get to our next one. So secret number 4 is find your tribe. Being surrounded by the right people will help you a lot. I'm sure a lot of us already knows what it feels like to be around people who feel heavy and draining. Sometimes we may have times in our lives that call for sacrifice. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. If you have to care for someone, if you have a family member you have to care for, or something they're going through, sometimes we will have those experiences where we have circumstances that drain us. But it's also equally important for us to keep people around us then that lifts us up. So if we are going through a particularly draining experience because we have someone around us that we have to care for, it is important that we also now start to go out around people doing things like this, having a workshop of women here. I'm sure it's lifting you up and your feelings up just by being in this space. So find the tribe, find those people, those connections that help you move forward in your life. Healthy connections are going to lift you up, elevate your mindset. And when that happens for us women, and this happens for men too, this is not just for men, but I just teach women who come in a physical female body. When we lift up our emotions, our hormones get better, and progesterone and oxytocin are 2 of them. And progesterone, just if you don't know, as far as your menstrual cycle, is one of the most important hormones. Most women have progesterone issues. That's why they have menstrual cycle issues. And it's because they are being drained and depleted by the life things on around them. So bringing those friends that lift you up, that speak life into you, finding your tribe. And so I have a situation here. I had a client that I worked with, and I wanted to share her experience is that when she started with me, came to me eating healthy, but she was still having menstrual problems with her womb health. And she didn't understand why she was still having menstrual cramps and heavy bleeding, although she was eating healthy. And what happened was that she started to look deeper, and she started to open up her intuition and started to journal in her dream state. She started to have these dreams. And what happened was she started to see that she had a lot of people around her that were draining her in her dream space. She told me she saw herself in a dream as a starving dog. She saw herself, she was a dog and she was starving. And so if you don't know about dogs, that means friendships, if you don't know the symbolism of dogs. And she saw herself being someone who was starving, and she saw these people that were taking her, and she said she saw herself as this skinny, bony dog. And she knew when she woke up that meant she had people she had to release. And she actually released a relationship she was in, and friendships. She modified how she put up boundaries. And what happened was her cycle issues healed, right? Where she was coming to me already eating healthy, already exercising, she couldn't figure it out. She had to go a little bit deeper. And she had to look at the energy around her. And so that's what I mean about friendships. The people around you have an energy and have an effect on you. So think about your life. Do you have enough people in your life who are uplifting you? Do you have enough people in your life who are uplifting you? And for the sake of time, I'm just going to keep the screen on because I want to get to our last point. But just think about it. And if not, how can we start getting people around us? Is there someone you can reach out to? Are there more workshops you can join like this? I know one powerful thing is meetup.com. I know they have that in every state where they have meetups where you can meet new people. I used to do that when I needed to meet new people. If I felt my life had become a little too quiet, I would go to different events and just start meeting people. And so this is a simple yes and no. Who would like to share? And do you feel you have enough people or not? And some people do. Some people don't. Is anybody who would like to share out?
I'll say no, just because I feel like in my day-to-day life, I don't have enough people around me who are uplifting. Like I feel like in my regular everyday life, like I end up feeling drained. I have to like reach out outside of my daily life to get some uplifting. So
Right. So a good thing for you maybe to do once we come off this workshop is just literally sit with yourself, do that breathing exercise and a little movement, put your hand on your heart because your intuition will guide you. Or if it doesn't happen today, it will happen in the next few days. Where can I go to start? Or how can I start to bring in new people? And when you hear that wisdom, no matter how silly it is, because sometimes it looks silly, I'll be honest. I've done some silly things on intuition, not knowing where it was going to take me, but it always took me somewhere. Just ask your heart in your womb space, how do I bring in new people that will feel good to me? And just listen and allow and follow what you hear, even if it looks crazy at first.
I'll share. It's really important. Like you said, I heard a quick podcast on Steve Harvey, and he talked about look at all your friends and put a green mark on who shows up for you. Put an X on people who always come to you with problems and are negative, and then maybe like a question mark of someone in between, and slowly work your way towards the people who are showing up for you, who are giving you energy, and your manifesting will switch. And as I did that, I started to get more people in my life. I found other women circle groups much like this, and things started to change. So I just wanted to quickly share that really helped me to like people who are coming to me, and it doesn't feel like I'm not getting what I get back. I know it sounds selfish, but the people who show up for me are my cheerleaders, and I want to be around my cheerleaders, and I want to be a cheerleader for them. So
it's not selfish, beloved. It's called reciprocity. We all need that. So thank you so much for sharing. So we're going to move on to the last one. We got 5 more minutes and we're going to get to it. And so this last secret is express self-compassion. And when we don't practice self-compassion, we can be unduly hard on ourselves, which means we can often think something's wrong with us because of what we're experiencing. And that can help us carry around guilt and shame. We have to express self-compassion to ourselves, because many times those of us who like to help people, we feel people and we give so much to others. We give so more to others than we do ourselves. We'll give somebody else more compassion before we do it for ourselves. We'll be hard on ourselves. And so when we don't have self-compassion, we'll carry around this deep-seated belief that something's wrong with me, and there's nothing wrong with you. And what will happen is that you're sending out this energy, and you might attract experiences that just reflect that back to you. You might have people who are unkind to you. You might have an unkind or aggressive boss. I know I've went through that experience. You may have relationships with people who treat you harshly, not realizing they're really just showing you how you treat yourself. And sometimes if you change the way you treat yourself, you'll be surprised that they will change to now show that back to you, or they'll just leave your life altogether because they no longer match who you've become. So think about expression, self-compassion to yourself. Talk to your ways and ways that encourage yourself. When we have self-compassion, we accept ourselves right here, right now, no matter how it looks. And that's true love. That's true self-love, self-acceptance. And when we come from that space, we can really start to stand in our power and move that energy and open up to the life that feels good for us. And so if there's any way that you are criticizing yourself right now, just make a comment to yourself and just become aware of it. And I'm going to share with you a little affirmation that you can do every day to just help you start practicing self-compassion. And as women, as you're writing, I just want to talk, if you don't mind. But as women, we do this a lot. One, because we haven't taught to be in our bodies. There's actually certain times in our cycle. And when I come to the retreat weekend, hopefully I can share more about the menstrual cycle and the wisdom. There are certain signs and certain parts or times in our cycle where we'll be more critical towards ourselves, and we don't really understand where it's coming from. And we can be overly hard on ourselves. But when you learn to tap into the wisdom of the feminine cyclical body, you will get more insights and learn to have more self-compassion. So as women, we're particularly susceptible to this. I just wanted to share that, criticizing ourselves too much. And so I'm going to go ahead and share this affirmation and practicing mirror work, just going in. If you want to jot this down, you can. Going in the mirror every day and just saying to yourself, and you're going to cry when you first do this, because I know I did when I first started doing mirror work. And you got to look yourself in the eyes. You got to look at your own soul. If you believe you have a soul, you might not believe that, but you nonetheless, you know you have a body. And I want you to say, I love you to yourself. I love you so much. I honor you and I cherish you. I deserve the best life has to offer. I promise to take good care of you. Just this saying this to yourself alone, and if you've never done mirror work, and if you do this for the first time, you're going to cry. You're going to cry. And hug yourself. And so I'm going to stop this share because I know we're coming on the threshold. There were a few more slides, but I pretty much memorized them, so we don't have to worry. And I wanted to say that if you, well, tell me, how will we feel? We feeling good? Are we okay? Good. I hope that you all have received some insight or some tips.